Welcome back, everyone. I'm Simon Severino, your personal business coach. My guest today is Marshall Goldsmith. He has coached 150 plus of the top CEOs. He invented stakeholder-centered coaching. He wrote the books on coaching, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, Triggers, my personal favorite, Mojo. He spent 50 days with Peter Drucker, my mentor's mentor, the hero. Welcome, Marshall Goldsmith.
Oh, thank you so much for asking me to be here.
It's an honor. And people listening to this, they are business owners, they run coaching companies, they run consultancies, advisories. So it's all about being the trusted advisor. So we have read your books and we have consumed the material. We're so excited to hear what you're currently building, what you're up to, and what we can learn from you.
Oh, very excited to talk to you. So thank you very much.
You are right now building the AI version of you. Why?
Well, as I've grown older, my mission is to try to create a positive difference in the lives of as many people as I can. I'm 75, so I'm not going to be here forever. And I'm very, very fortunate because I have a company who's been working with me called Fractal Analytics and really working to build an AI system that can answer questions as well as I can. The reality is, my goal was it would answer about 80% of the questions you asked me, about 80% as well. That is wrong. It can answer almost any question better than me, and it can answer questions with my way of thinking that I probably couldn't answer, or I definitely couldn't answer. Let me give you an example. My daughter, Kelly, she has a PhD from Yale. She's a professor at Vanderbilt. She decided to trick my computer bot. So she said, how is your coaching related to utilitarian philosophy? I don't even know what utilitarian philosophy is. My computer bot studied utilitarian philosophy, studied my coaching. I've given it 3 million words, studied my way of thinking. It answered the question exactly as if I would answer it if I'd done that research. By the way, coming up in 45 languages and in 5 seconds.
So people all over the globe are going to the AI version of Marshall asking questions.
They
Are they
are.
asking questions that surprise you?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. My AI bot answers questions that do have guardrails. For example, if you ask it, who is Donald Trump? It'll reply, I don't know. It doesn't answer questions about politics. It doesn't answer questions about medical advice. It doesn't answer questions about financial advice. On the other hand, questions about people, management, coaching, life, it'll answer from my perspective. Now, here's a very important point. Every computer bot is biased. Every computer bot is biased. There's a great example of the Gemini computer bot developed by Google, just blew up because it was so biased by left-wing San Francisco politics. I don't care about politics at all, one way or the other, but it was totally biased. Well, my computer bot is biased. Let me tell you what I mean. If you ask it a question like, what is leadership? Well, there's 1,000 possible answers. You read an answer, why that answer? As soon as there's an answer, there's a bias. The difference between my computer bot and a generic computer bot is simple. I'm the bias. I am the bias. You find out what I think, and at least you know there's a real human being who's taking responsibility for the answers.
What clusters of questions are coming up? What are people asking most?
It's interesting. They vary from questions about mostly about leadership, coaching, but a lot of questions about life. For example, one question that you gave me to think about was the question of what are my own superpowers? I thought, well, that's a good question. And, my superpowers are 1, selecting great clients, 2, loving my work, 3, making peace with life.
Wow.
I mean, that was really a good answer.
A really good answer. Making
And,
peace with life. How to do that?
well, I'm a Buddhist. I've been studying Buddhism for 40 years. And a key element of Buddhism is just learning to accept what is, excuse me, learning to accept what is and just making peace with what is.
It's
Make
easier said than done.
it is easier said than done, but that's a very, very important thing I've learned over the years. Learn how to make peace with what is. For example, my phone just went off. Make peace. Things happen, right? And the key to my Buddhist philosophy is that be happy now, uh, be grateful for all you have, make peace, and whatever you did wrong in the past, you did. When I coach people, one of the best pieces of advice I give them is, forgive other people for being who they are, and forgive yourself for expecting that they would be someone else.
You work with CEOs. What are some examples of this popping up in your work with them, and how do you help them apply it?
Well, let's talk about a couple things. Back to my superpowers. My first superpower listed was selecting great clients. Now,
Mm.
in my role as a stakeholder coach, as you mentioned, I invented this process, stakeholder centered coaching. In stakeholder centered coaching, for 45 years, I didn't get paid if my clients didn't get better. I didn't get paid anything. Entire engagement until they got better. They got better, got paid. Well, you want to test someone, believes what they're saying, ask them a question. You want to bet on it? Well, they say, I believe it, but I wouldn't bet on it. Well, they don't believe it that much. I bet on it. Well, when you get paid for results, you learn humility. The client I coach, I spent the most amount of time with, didn't improve at all. The client I spent the least amount of time with improved more than anyone I've ever coached, and 200 people got better. So his name is Alan Mullally. Alan was the CEO of Ford when the stock went from 101 to 1840. He was CEO of the year in the United States. Just a great guy. I talked to my friend Alan and I said, Alan, what should I learn about coaching from you? I said, Alan, of all the people I coached, I spent the least amount of time coaching you and you improved the most. And you were great to start with. What should I learn from you? He said, you got one challenge, Marshall. This changed my life. Work with great people. He said, you work with great people. Your coaching process will always work. You work with the wrong people. Your coaching process will never work. And he said, don't make coaching about yourself, your own ego, and how smart you think you are. Make it about the great people you coach, how proud you are of them. That conversation changed my life. Now, as you mentioned, I've been ranked number one coach in the world for years. Nobody knows I'm a good coach. Nobody knows I'm a good coach. I may or may not be a good coach. I'm sure, I doubt I'm the number one coach in the world for 20 years in a row. That seems ridiculous even to me. I may not be the best coach in the world. I can tell you one thing though, I have the best clients in the world. And if you have the best clients in the world, and by the way, my clients say I'm a great coach. My clients publicly say, I work with this guy and I'm better. Well, that's why I'm ranked the top coach. So I noticed you mentioned people on your call. You have some people who are in the coaching field listening. Let me give you one bit of advice, all you coaches out there, work with great people. And as hard as it is, and sometimes you have to do what you have to do, I'm a realist. As hard as it is, don't take bad business. If you take bad business, it will come back and haunt you. You may get paid, but in the long term, you're going to pay for it because it'll damage your reputation.
How to define great people, good business, and how to screen before picking them as a client?
Well, in my case, it's pretty simple. In my stakeholder centered coaching, you have to get confidential feedback. You have to pick important behavior to improve. You have to follow up on a regular basis and you get measured. And I just tell my clients, if you don't want to do that, it's fine. I'm not judging you. I just won't work with you. Bye bye. And I'm very, very, you got to realize if you don't get paid, if they don't get better, you're pretty serious. Well, every coach listening, I'm a realist, can't do what I do. Sometimes you need the money. You got to do what you got to do. I understand that. I'm not naive. And there's nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, to the degree humanly possible, work with great people. Even if you get paid less, work with great people because they're going to get better and they're going to make you a hero. And the ones that don't care, you are wasting your time. They won't get better, and they will damage your reputation.
I was collecting questions before this. One of the questions everybody wants to know, how did you get to 1.5 million LinkedIn followers? They are not at that number and they're wondering what to do.
Well, the first thing is LinkedIn is very interesting. Obviously, I've spent some time thinking about this. I do have 1.5 followers. One is you need to have content. You need to have content because if you don't have something to say, people get bored very, very quickly. You need to have content. The content needs to be very digestible, and you need to build a personal brand. You need to build a personal brand. Now, let's talk about building a personal brand. The one thing I did as a very young person that really helped me in building a personal brand is I said, what is my mission? One, I want to be the world's expert at helping great people, successful leaders get even better. Now, it sounds kind of obvious now. No one had the brand. Do a Google search, helping successful leaders, in quotes. The first 500 references, 450 of those references are me. The rest of the world is 50. I got 450, the rest of the world got 50. I won. Build a personal brand. Become the world's expert at something, not everything. Don't pretend to be the world's expert at everything. I'm the world's expert at helping great leaders achieve positive long-term change in behavior. That's what I'm the expert at. Who's second? Who knows who's second? Who's first? Me. There's not a better, you do a Google search, who's first? I'm it, right? There's not a second. Well, build a brand. It takes time, it takes effort. And by the way, a lot of it is thankless. Writing. I've written or edited 59 books now. 4 New York Times bestsellers. It's a lot of work. And by the way, nobody pats you on the head when you're doing this. In the short term, there's no pay for this. You work. You work, you work, you work. You build a brand over time. Become an expert at something. And if you become, Peter Drucker taught me another great lesson. If you're great at marketing, he said, effective marketing eliminates the need for sales. Very important point from Peter Drucker. Effective marketing eliminates the need for sales. I actually have done very little selling in my life. Why? I'm great at marketing. If you're great at marketing, people call you up on the phone and ask you to work with them. There's a derogatory term used to describe salespeople called order taker. Well, basically, I'm an order taker. I'm not good at sales. I'm not bad at sales. I don't do sales. I don't have to do sales. Why? If you're good enough at marketing, you don't have to sell because the clients come to you. So now the thing is, long-term, short-term for everyone listening. Look, it's a long slog. Let me give you an example. How did you get there? 3 young people came to my home in Rancho Santa Fe, California before I moved. And they're getting their PhDs from a small school. They were average age about 32. This kid says, oh, we decided we want to be you when you graduate. I said, what do you mean you want to be me? Well, we want to coach big CEOs like you do when we graduate. I'm listening to this young man. He's a nice young man. I try to be nice. I'm thinking, at the time, I've written or edited 35 books. I have 11 million frequent flyer miles on American Airlines. You want to be me when you graduate? Good luck. Get to work, kid. You got to start paying some dues here. Well, from my experience, there may be a shortcut, but I don't know what it is. If there's a shortcut, nobody taught it to me. You got to work. You got to build a brand, figure out what your brand is, become the world's expert on that brand, and drive that brand over and over and over and over again.
You spent 50 days with Peter Drucker, the mentor of my mentor. What surprised you?
Peter Drucker, very practical man. And what surprised me, for a guy who's an academic, a very non-academic man. His writing is not very academic. It's very practical. It's very down to earth. And he taught me so many wonderful lessons that I use every day. Now, I'm going to share a lesson with all your listeners right now. One of the many lessons he taught me. One I've already shared. Effective marketing eliminates the need for sales. Where did I learn it? Peter Drucker taught me that lesson. Now, here's another lesson. We're here on earth to make a positive difference, not to prove how smart we are and not to prove how right we are. Very few people understand that lesson. We get so lost proving how smart we are and right we are, we forget. We're not here on earth to prove we're smart. Nobody cares how smart you are. Nobody cares how right you are. We're here to make a positive difference. If you're not making a positive difference, it's irrelevant how smart you are. Then he said, another great point for your listeners. Every decision in life is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. Decisions aren't made by the fair person or a good person or the best person. Decisions are made based on one and only one variable, power. Whoever has the power to make the decision is going to make the decision. Make peace with that. Now, if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, and I need to influence you to make a positive difference, there's one word to describe you, customer. One word to describe me, salesperson. Customers do not have to buy. Salespeople have to sell. Well, that's life. That's life. By the way, get over it's not fair. Get over poor me, blah, blah, blah. Grow up. That's life. The decision makers make decisions. It's not about fairness, rationality, or logic. It is what it is. And get over your ego.
Now, those CEOs, they have a time constraint. They have so many things fighting for their attention, so many responsibilities. How do you accommodate for that?
I get to the punchline as soon as possible. One of the CEOs that endorsed my book, The Earned Life, Albert Bourla, said the one thing he liked about me is he learned more in 5 minutes from me than he learned in an hour from most people. Why? I don't waste their time. I am very respectful of their time, and I get to the punchline. Now, my coaching, my clients, basically, some coaches don't give advice. I am not one of those coaches. I can rank number one leadership thinker in the world. If I can't give people advice, who can? I do give people advice. And I do it quickly. And I tell them, I practice something and I teach them to believe in something called feed forward. Now, that's one of the keys to my success. Feed forward. I invented this concept. It's a great concept. Buddha said, only do what I ask if it works only do what I teach if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Well, in Feed Forward, I teach everybody to ask for ideas, listen, thank people, don't promise to do everything, but shut up and say thank you and do what you can. In my clients, I practice Feed Forward and I teach them Feed Forward. They learn from everyone around them in a very efficient way. Then I give them ideas. I say, look, you don't have to do what I say. You're an adult. Do what works for you. If it works, do it. If it doesn't work for you, don't. And that's one reason they like me is I'm very sensitive to their time. And I treat them like an adult. They're adults.
I have so many more questions after one word from our sponsors. Well, even when you are on vacation, discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints method. Order your copy of Strategy Sprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review. For more information, head over to strategysprints.com. If content marketing is your main marketing activity, what's your process for writing? What helps you write?
Another great question. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers, and I have a secret about those 4 bestsellers. You know what my secret for great writing is? Very simple. Find someone who can write and have them write the books. How many of these 4 New York Times bestsellers did I write? The answer to that question is zero. And this is not a secret. You look at the cover of the book, it says Marshall Goldsmith, Mark Writer. I come up with the ideas, he writes the books. I talk, he writes. I talk, he writes. We have a process. We work together. And we end up with a book, and we've done 4 books together. We're working on number 5 now. And our 4 books have sold about 3 million bucks, 3 million copies, these 4 books. Well, you want to be a great author, find somebody who can write. Now, I'm going to talk to your listeners. Are you ready? Many of your listeners have a dream about writing a book. Here's advice I have for about 95% of your listeners. You can't write. What in your background would lead me to believe you know how to write a book, especially a popular book? You're probably not that good. Find someone who can write to help you write the book. There's plenty of English majors out there that can write. Get somebody to help you. See,
what's your next book?
My superpower is not writing.
What's your next book?
My next book is called Being Here While Getting There. So it's going to redo my most famous book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, and introduce it at the same time with our new book, Being Here While Getting There, as a counterpoint. This book is about the importance of being present in the moment while at the same time striving for success. Many times we get so busy striving for success, we forget to enjoy life in the moment. We're not present in the moment.
Absolutely. And why did you pick this topic?
Again, it's my partner and I, Mark, we just spent hours talking. And we thought, what are some of the biggest challenges that we see? Over COVID, I had the honor of spending 600 hours with 60 ridiculously successful achievers. These are people like the president of the World Bank, the head of the Rockefeller Foundation, the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee, the head of St. Jude's Children's Hospital, CEOs of major corporations, Pau Gasol, the famous basketball Hall of Fame player, Curtis Martin, the national Broadway stars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Amazing people, 600 hours. One of the biggest challenges they all have is being present in the moment. Why? There's so much going on in their lives. It's hard to remember who I am and what's going on right now. Especially, by the way, when we go home. In many ways, it's easier at work than at home. When we go home, it's very easy to lose focus, to not really be there.
Because part of us is still thinking about the work responsibilities?
Exactly right.
And so what's your process? Is identifying where the attention is? Tell us about
Well, the first thing is transition. You need to just take a few seconds every time we enter a new environment and go through a transition phase. Transition. And realize we're starting over. We're starting over. My friend Carol Kaufman has a good question. Am I being the person I want to be right now? You've got to ask yourself, who do I want to be right now? Not in the past, in the future. Who do I want to be right now? And really focus on being present at that moment, in that role, with that person. Very easy in theory, very difficult in practice. And you need to learn to let go of the past. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. You need to let it go. For example, one of my coaching clients is the head of St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Dr. Downey. I also coached Dr. Frias, head of the Rady Children's Hospital. Both of these people said when they were young interns, they had lots of problems. They used to go home and cry. Why? They saw kids die every day. They had to learn to let go of that. They have wives. They have children. They can't carry that with them and do their job. It doesn't mean they're not good people. It means they have to learn to let go of that caring at work when they come home. And if they don't, they're no good at work or home.
Learn to reset. I'm a parent. I have 3 little children. So I have this challenge like 50 times a day. How do I reset now? Let me forget that they just destroyed the chessboard and be present.
Well, I don't recall ever saying anything I teach is easy. This isn't easy. By the way, if all this were so easy, why do these people hire me? None of this is easy. There's no quick fix. There's no instant solution. See, that's the great thing we want is this myth that I read the book, I go to the class, whatever, all of a sudden life is wonderful forever. There's only one type of book that ends with, and they lived happily ever after. What type of book is that? It's a fairy tale. That's not the real world. In the real world, you start over every day as a parent with your kids. You know what you're going to do tomorrow? Screw up. How many times? Multiple times. Does that mean you're a bad parent? Of course not. It means you're a human being. Make peace. You're not going to be a perfect parent. And by the way, you're not going to have perfect kids. It's not going to happen. You're human. Kids are human. That's all right. Make peace with that. We all need help. I teach something called the daily question process. Very easy to understand and hard to do. I practice it myself. Someone talks to me every day to make sure I do this. They did it this morning with me every day for 27 years, almost every day. Why? My name is Marshall. I'm too cowardly and undisciplined to do the things I teach by myself. I need help. And it's okay. It's okay. I need help. Do you think I'm better than these great people I coach? No, I'm not better than these people. You think I'm not human? I'm just human. I screw up every day. We all need help. Make peace.
Now that you are on tour for the book, what are some experiences that you're learning from?
Well, right now I'm working more on my computer bot, and I've learned a ton. In working on my computer bot, what I've learned is that we just need to make peace with new technology. I mean, how am I able to work on my computer bot? 4 things. One is have a lot of content. You want to do your own computer bot, you have to have content. If you don't have content, nobody's going to look at it or listen to it. I mean, my bot's already been asked almost 100,000 questions. So you've got to have content. Number 2, I have followers. I got 1.5 million followers. People say I'm going to develop my own computer bot. Okay, well, who cares? No, nobody cares. I got 1.5 million followers. A few people care. That's why people go to it. So you have to have content. You have to have followers. And then the other thing you have to make this computer bot work is I'm doing it for free. It's all free. I don't charge people money for this. It's all free. Everything I teach is free. I give it all away. Why? I'm 75. I'm going to die anyway. What am I going to do with a few extra bucks? I don't need any more money. I just give everything away. And then finally, I've got some great people who are supporting me and paying for this. This thing is not cheap. I've got 8 engineers in India helping me out at Fractal Analytics. Well, that's what I've learned. It's not easy to do this stuff. It's amazing technology. It's not easy, though.
Many coaches think they have to help CEOs be accountable. Other coaches say, accountability is not my job. They're adults, it's their job. What's your philosophy on this?
What's your goal as a coach? To follow a process or to get results?
Results.
Then how are you going to find out if you have results if you don't measure anything? Well, if there's no measurement, how do you know you got any results?
You can't.
Point made. If your goal is to just facilitate a process and not measure things, that's just fine. If your goal is to achieve results, there has to be some way to measure the results. Peter Drucker would say, if you can't measure it, how do you know it made a difference? Well, you don't.
How do you
See,
come up with the
I'll
KPIs to
say
measure the
it's,
results?
excuse me, all of the coaches that said it's not my problem, they don't get paid for results.
Correct.
They get paid for results, it would be their problem. They don't. They get paid for spending time.
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you, they don't work with the people I work with. The people I work with, you spending their time and not getting results, how much patience do they have for that? That would be zero.
Correct. What's your process for coming up with the KPIs for the results to be measured?
It's very simple. When I work with my clients, they get confidential feedback from all of their stakeholders. If I coach the CEO, the board of directors approves the stakeholders as well as the CEO. If I coach the future CEO approves him as well as the CEO. They tell me who the important people are. I don't tell them. Two, I have confidential interviews from everyone around them in detail. I write a comprehensive report. My client gets feedback, often deeper feedback they've ever received in their lives. They get a lot of feedback. Then they say, I feel good about this. I want to get better at that. I say, what do you want to get better at? They write it down. If there's a future CEO, I call the CEO in and you say, do you agree? If the CEO, does the board agree? Assuming the answer is yes, they have told me what's the important behavior to change. They have told me who the key stakeholders are. Then I have an ongoing follow-up process. I wrote an article about this called Leadership as a Contact Sport. Marshall at marshallgoldsmith.com. Send me an email. I'll send you a copy of it. But, they do this follow-up process and we measure not as judged by them, as judged by everyone around them. Did they get better? And they get better, I get paid. As you can see, that's why I'm very religious about the process. If they don't want to, it's okay. Don't. Just don't waste my time.
Some leaders become leaders because they're good at the change they want to bring in, but they're not good at receiving feedback or
Right.
having the thick skin, the capacity to absorb and digest that feedback. Did you have some that needed help with that, and how to learn that?
Very interesting. How do I motivate people who don't inherently want to do the kind of stuff I do? A wonderful question. You know what the answer is? I don't. I don't care. Don't do it. It's okay. Somebody says to me, prove what you do works. I'd say, probably doesn't work for you. Great idea, a dumb idea. Don't do any of it. It's fine. I spent zero time trying to motivate my clients to do anything. I've learned a hard lesson as a coach. You know what that hard lesson is? My name is Marshall Goldsmith, not Jesus Christ. I'm not in the savior business here. If they don't care, guess what? I don't either. What did my friend Alan Mullally teach me? If they do not care, do not waste your time. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you married?
I am.
Have you ever attempted to change the behavior of your wife when she had no interest in changing? Have you tried that before?
I'm scared of even thinking about it.
Yeah. And how well did it work out?
Nope.
Are your parents still alive?
Yes.
Have you ever tried to change mommy and daddy when they had no interest in changing? Have you tried that before?
I always nudge them. It never works.
I was teaching my class at Johnson & Johnson. I said, how many of you are still trying to change mommy and daddy who don't want to change? A woman raised her hand. I said, are you trying to change mommy or daddy? She said, daddy. I asked her, what's daddy's problem? She said, he does not have a healthy lifestyle. I asked her, how old is daddy? She said, 94 years old. I said, leave the old boy alone. Let it go. Let it go. No, I mean, everybody listening in terms of coaching, if they don't care, they're not going to get better. They're not going to get better.
This is pure gold. How do we see that we are trying to convince? It's probably we try to explain too much, we become defensive or add additional features.
Let me give you the number one answer. Your your question is a great question. It's addressing the number one problem of people I coach. I was interviewed in the Harvard Business Review and said, what is the number one problem of all the great people I coach? You know what my answer was? Exactly what you're talking about, winning too much. It was important we want to win, meaningful win, critical win, trivial win, and not worth it. We want to win anyway. Everyone I coach is a winner. It's hard for winners not to win. I teach people stop winning all the time. Only win things that matter. Let me give you an example. You want to go to dinner at restaurant X. Your husband, wife, friend, or partner wants to go to Y. You have an argument. You go to Y. The food tastes awful. The service is terrible. Option A, critique the food. Point out our partner was wrong. You know, this mistake would have been avoided if you listened to me. Option B, shut up. Eat the dumb food. Try to enjoy it and have a nice night. What would I do? What should I do? Almost all my clients, well, what do I do? Critique the food. What should I do? Shut up. You have a hard day at work. You come home. Your husband, wife, his partner is there. And the other person says, I had such a hard day. If we're not careful, what do we say? You had a hard day. You had a hard day. Do you have any idea what I had to put up with today? You see, we're so competitive, we have to prove we're more miserable than the people we live with. I gave this example to my class at the Dartmouth Tuck School of Management. A young guy raised his hand. He said, I did that last week. I asked him, what happened? He said, my wife looked at me and said, honey, you just think you had a hard day. It is not over. So, it was well taken. Before you fight that battle, ask one question. Is it worth it? Is it worth it?
Is there something coaches can do already in how they position their services? Is there a language that attracts winners rather than non-winners?
Communicate to your clients that my job is to help great people who care. Not my job is to inspire people who don't care. I'm not in the fix the loser business. I'm in help the winner business. And by the way, from a financial point of view, which pays better? Fix the hopeless loser who's about to get fired and probably was going to get fired anyway, or help the great person who's a wonderful leader who wants to get better? Which one of those two pays the most? I don't think that. Of course, it's not real close here. If you want to be in the fix the loser business, knock yourself out. Don't expect to get paid a lot of money for it, though. By the way, if you're in the fix the loser business and you're my coach, do I feel like a winner or a loser?
You want to have a winning coach?
That's it. By the way, some coaches say, I cannot mention the names of my clients. I mention the names of all my clients. They mention my name. They write it in my books. Why can I mention my name? Why do they mention my name? Because I work with winners. They are proud to be associated with people who work with winners. If I said my job is to fix losers, would they want to put their name in my book? Of course not.
Marshall, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been amazing. The last 10 minutes of this, I will re-listen to them, I think, a couple times a week until I do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. And everyone, Marshall Goldsmith, you find him on LinkedIn, you find him on the Amazon bestseller list, everywhere on the internet, Marshall Goldsmith.
MarshallGoldsmith.ai. I have one request. Go to my computer bot. It's all free. Ask as many questions as you want.
Thanks, Marshall, for being on the show. Keep rolling, man.
Avoid trying to do thousands of things that doesn't work. We have 274 templates for your business success. Reach your ambitious goals with one-on-one sprint coach. We double your revenue in 90 days.